Good morning, parents, and I'm sorry that I haven't given you guys a weekly parent update in a while. But I do want to, jump on real quick and talk to you guys about first of all, my AP Calculus students. The registration deadline for paying for the AP test is this week, and so I just want to make sure that everybody is aware about, paying or not paying. There's no penalty for you to not take the AP test. And so what I tell students quite often is that if they don't know if they're going to be, ready to take the AP test and pass it, or if they don't know whether or not they'll have the time commitment in order to take it and pass it, that it's okay if they don't. They still get the grade augmentation for being in the class. And so they don't necessarily have to take the AP test just because that they're in the class. Because I know that there's quite a few students who did not, choose calculus. They would have rather choose a, different math class. And so that's where, if they don't want to pay for the AP test for calc, they don't have to. And then if they do, they need to make sure that, that they put in a lot of time into it. I know with Calc AB, this last unit, I spread it out a little bit, gave them a couple days per section to understand the material and grasp the material. And what I found was quite a few students were trying to work on a different class. They were trying to work on A push, or they goofed around and they didn't use their time wisely, and they didn't ask me questions when they should have. And so they took a test for Unit 3. Calc AB took a test today for Unit 3. And quite frankly, when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's where your test scores will show that. And so there might be a little bit of frustration coming home tonight, but I would ask your child, what have you done to ask Mrs. Hayden questions? What have you done to try to understand the material? When did you start to try to understand the material? Because there's some people that just recently started to ask questions, like maybe 24 hours before the test, and so that's where, or a couple days before the test. And so that's where, if, they're feeling a little frustrated, they probably waited till the last minute to get help. But they do have a way of making this up. And this goes for BC as well. Their midterm that they'll take for multiple choice replaces their Unit 2 test score if it's better. So it will count twice. Same thing with their midterm free response. Will count twice if the score is better than their other free response exams. So BC has already taken the midterm. They finished their midterm this week, but AB, you guys will be taking the midterm on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So the midterm multiple choice will replace the Unit 2 test score and count twice if it is better, and your midterm free response will count twice if it's better than the Unit 3 test that they just took today. Unit 4 is the last unit, which the Calculus BC students have already started, and my AB students will start next week on Thursday. And so that'll be the last unit that we'll do with a quiz and a test for this semester. And BC will get a few more additional objectives, but they won't be tested on until the final. And then AB will just end with Unit 4. As far as, availability, I've answered questions on Remind. I've also jumped onto Zoom for some students, like if they ask me a question that I don't think I can answer through a text message, I always ask them, hey, can you jump onto Zoom for a second and I can help you. And so I've done that for quite a few students. And so in the end, if your child is struggling, the question should be, how are you asking Mrs. Hayden for help? Are you asking her during class? Because that's another thing too. If I'm going to give it my time at home to help a student in the evening, I want to make sure that they're utilizing the class period. So I won't sit there and help a student that, blows off their, class period working on A push or goofing around with their friends to help them in the evening and take away time from my family. But if somebody's doing the right thing, they're, asking questions in class and they just run out of time, I don't have a problem setting up time outside of class on Zoom to meet with them. And so just make sure that you're communicating with your child. If you have any questions, for me, I'd be happy to answer them, because in the end, I can tell you whether or not your child has been doing what I think is the right thing to be successful, or whether or not they haven't been. And so, go ahead and reach out to me through email, and I'd be happy to answer that question for you. For all of my IM2 students, you have a quiz this Thursday, and then the test is on Monday, and we have 2 more units left. We have 3 objectives of a Unit 6, but there's only a quiz associated with that. There'll be a test and a quiz on Unit 7 and a test and quiz on Unit 8. Unit 7 ends our geometry stretch, and then we do a unit on statistics that ends the fall semester, and then we will start the spring semester with all the algebra units, which are very, very important for success in advanced math next year. So there'll be algebra units along with some trigonometry we'll start in the spring, and that'll be super important. And so essentially that's it. That's what we've been doing. We finished Magic of the Arts. As far as school activities are concerned, my Calculus BC students we'll have an observer tomorrow from UC Merced, their math department, because I'm a part of a grant with Fresno State. And so I will have an observer tomorrow. And then next week we will have our accreditation team that accreditates or does our accreditation as a school. They will be here walking around classrooms and observing. And they'll be talking to students as well. And so I have, prepped the kids to let them know, that there will be some visitors on campus, and they just need to act normal and do what they normally do. And just remember that they represent UHS at all times. So, but that's what's upcoming. We're coming up on finally a 3-day weekend in one weekend. So Veterans Day will be next week. It's early release on Thursday, and then Friday the 11th is Veterans Day, so we have that day off. So all of my students, you guys get 3.5 days, the half day on the 10th, and Veterans Day off, and then which is a much needed 3-day break for those students. And that's another reason why I'm not going to assign a whole bunch of homework during that time. I really do want them to enjoy their 3-day weekend. So we will do what we can next week to get all of our assignments done and turned in, so that way they can enjoy their 3-day weekend, 3.5-day weekend without calculus. Same thing with my IM2 students. I'm going to try to make sure that we get all of our homework assignments done, so that way you guys can also enjoy your 3-day weekend. All right, well, again, if you guys have any questions or any concerns about anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help your student be successful. They really just need to start having conversations with me, asking questions, and I can do what I can to meet their needs, and that's what I'm here for. That's why I'm a teacher. So if there's any time that you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me via email, and I hope you have a great week, great weekend this weekend. Looking forward to the following week with a 3.5-day weekend for my students. So I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.